how does it feel to be in the first spot? Do you know the wonderful feeling, the rolling in incomes, the wonderful feeling that you get from numbers that coming from your stocks and also from your banker, saying that you have this amount added to your profit rate. The interviews that you give, the interviews that you get. These are the wonderful feelings that you get when you are in the top spot. But what happens when the king of the market goes down? You see, there's a difference between a founder, there's a difference between an entrepreneur and a mere investor. That was the statement of Wealthfront's founder, because the company currently finds itself with an issue to grow and leverage sustainable competitive advantage in a market that economics would call a red ocean, because analytically it has so many competitors that are also going for that market share. So how is this company, Wealthfront, going to capitalize on its abilities, on its resources, to come back to the first position that it had in the market, and also to grow after being overtaken by competitors in that same market? My name is Tabio Kontabi, and these are my team members:
Kevin,
Ishani, Drishti. So I shall provide you with an outline of our presentation today. We shall start with the company overview to have a brief insight of the company, then the market segmentation to examine the market structure in which the company operates, followed by we identify the issue, and then our personal recommendations to your company, an analysis of our recommendations, evaluation of the timeline and cost estimation, and we shall then conclude. So, to provide a company overview, we are talking of Wealthfront. In 2014, it was the world's largest robo-advisory firm in terms of assets under management, having a net value of $1 billion US. Therefore, it has been categorized as a revolutionary player in the wealth management field, and its main goal is to grow and leverage on sustainable competitive advantage by capitalizing on core values like low cost of service to customers and transparency within its working. To be able to grow, we have identified the market segmentation, examining the structure in which Wealthfront can expand. We have those technically savvy clients who have the financial resources to invest in assets. However, they do not have the time to be able to talk and converse with human investment advisors. Therefore, this is a niche market in which Wealthfront wants to tap on customer base. On the other hand, we have those traditional investors, those who are inclined towards investment advisors, human conversation, having clarification about every single tax-paying or asset investment. Therefore, for Wealthfront to be able to grow in, we think of expanding and integrating the traditional market together with those tech-savvy users.
The main issue the company is facing at the moment is, as a result of increased competition and high client acquisition costs, its growth rate is slumping. So our aim today is to ignite the engine that once led this company at the top of the food chain. How do we keep the growth? How do we continue the growth rate that it had from 2014 to 2015, where it increased in 9 months? It doubled from $1 billion to $2 billion US. How do we keep that up?
And so, we get to this point. The point where we analyze the market, understand where the competition is coming from, understand where Wealthfront is operating from, and knowing how to leverage on resources and opportunities to gain a competitive advantage. At this point, we recommend automation and human advisory. We understand that Wealthfront's primary competitors come from the sector that actually focuses on human advisory. But with Wealthfront's leading market, being the leader in the market for the automation advisory model, we realize that other companies are beginning to come into that same niche. Now let us understand something. For the automation niche, it actually targets tech-savvy clients. And so therefore, if you're targeting a particular niche, you know that there's limited income that you're going to get at the end of the day from that niche. But we understand that for the market that Wealthfront finds itself, there are other segments of the same market that Wealthfront could actually go into. So now the question is, what next? What next is the integration of these two capabilities so as to be able to diversify and satisfy the whole market as it is. And so we recommend automation and human advisory. So when we talk about hybrid integration, what are we trying to say? We are trying to say that you bring in the human advisory factor, including the automated factor. Bringing them together, you cause a synergy that actually satisfies all your customer base. Let us understand that one thing that the clients from the tech service sector say was that they do not want to be contacted. Why? Because we understand that if you're working for Facebook or Twitter, you're not going to request anybody to disturb you because of the complexity in your job. The time constraint, because you have to be in the office for long hours. We understand that tech-savvy programmers have so much to spend but little time to spend it. And so therefore, they have to make use of their time. Therefore, the first strategy that Wealthfront took was very, very effective. That is, addressing the challenges and actually giving a convenient solution to these client base. But let us also understand that though Wealthfront is not making a loss, it is not making as much gain as it needs to beat the competition. Therefore, there is limited amount of resources in that niche market because that niche market is only centered around the B2C model of business. Therefore, you're dealing with a client. Your business is dealing with a client, and that client is an employee of another business. However, if a movement is made towards the B2B sector, we understand that you're also dealing with a business. So it's a business dealing with a business, and the amount of money, the range of investment from a client, from a single client, is not going to be compared to that of a business as well. And so when we talk about the hybrid synergy, we are saying that the benefit will be to reduce client acquisition costs. We understand that Wealthfront was facing the client acquisition cost of about $1,000. And therefore, that is where it spends more than other companies in this same sector. Because if you're trying to get a client by the automated platform, you understand that you're spending more. But we also understand that if you're making use of the advisory system from humans, it is cheaper. And that is where the competition of Wealthfront is coming from. We also understand that there is a benefit to address emotional gap. If we bridge the gap between the technology and the human resource, we now realize that we are marrying both resources. We know that robots do not have feelings. We know that technology cannot really make a joke for you to laugh. And so therefore, if the downside of the human advisory system was that of transparency, was that of accuracy, was that of efficiency, if we capitalize on technology in this hybrid strategy, we realize that while technology offers efficiency, accuracy, timeliness, transparency, and non-bias, the human factor is going to capitalize to cut down the cost of acquiring new clients, and also it's going to deal with the emotional limitations of technology. Because we understand that trust is not only dependent on transparency, but connection. And sometimes connection is not made by technology, but by human interaction. So, the challenges to this might be operational changes. Because it is certain that if you're going to make a change in the structure, in the strategy, if you're bringing in a new strategy to what already exists, there are going to be changes in your operations. And also, there's going to be training costs. And so we move to the next slide. I hand over to Kevin.
Alright, thank you for that. Now, we understand that the main issue here we are facing is competition. Now, as my colleague mentioned earlier, we're proposing a hybrid strategy. However, in order for you to implement this strategy, you need to understand, does it actually solve the issue I face? Does it actually increase my competitiveness? Does it actually allow me to gain a competitive advantage? And you cannot talk about competition without talking about what is generic. Now, in this case, we propose a hybrid strategy. Now, this hybrid strategy will allow us to differentiate ourselves from competitors. It will allow us to do so by bridging the emotional gap, while at the same time using and utilizing the efficiency and the power that's provided of using technology, rather than just relying on either technology or just relying on human resource. So therefore, it will allow us to differentiate ourselves from competitors, thus providing us an advantage. However, we need to know, to go further, we need to know whether it actually provides us a sustainable competitive advantage. Because we don't only want an advantage in the short run, but also in the long term as well. That's where the green criteria comes from under RPP. Now, the green criteria helps us understand. So, is the resource, is this strategy, is it valuable? Yes. Does it provide value to our customers? Bridging the gap between the emotional gap, while at the same time utilizing the benefits of technology, it does provide increased value for our customers, and in doing so, provides value for the business itself. Then, is it rare? Based on the information your company provided us, we recognize that no other company is actually implementing such a strategy. So this in fact is rare. However, it is imitable. In other words, in the long run, it can be imitated by competitors. However, we believe that utilizing our knowledge, our experience in the use of technology, we can gain operational efficiency to an extent that will be difficult for competitors to imitate. And at the same time, it is substitutable. However, we believe that the value that's provided through the merger of an integration of technology and human resources can provide greater value than the substitutes that are currently available on the market. Yes, now we would like to evaluate other alternatives we have. Yes. After understanding that we propose the hybrid strategy, we also have to look at other options that we could go with. We also could, because when you propose the hybrid strategy, we have different options. We could choose to hire, we could choose to recruit individuals, the human resource, or we could choose to acquire another business and integrate their human resources into our business, or we could choose to merge with another company and integrate their resources with ours. Yes. Now, we are going to analyze each of these and understand which of them would be best suited for our proposal.
So understanding that there needs to be a hybrid strategy, we therefore understand that we need the human factor. How then do we get this human factor? Do we merge with a company that already has a good human resource? Do we acquire a company, or do we actually recruit our own professional advisors? Talking about the merger, we realize that it is cheap compared to acquisition, because you're merging, you're sharing also the risk involved, and so it is cheap. It also increases your resource base, because you're getting new users, you're getting new professionals into your company, and also other resources that the company comes with. But it is going to reduce and limit the control that Wealthfront is going to have in its business environment, and also it is time consuming. The time required for a merger is actually going to cost so much if Wealthfront wants to keep up with the competition.
The next option we have available to us is an acquisition. However, an acquisition also faces trade-offs, benefits and challenges. A benefit would be that it would provide varied services. Therefore, Vanguard may provide a fee service, and our company may provide the ETF direction to our clients. In addition, we'd get the experience and knowledge that we would lack, and we would gain it from companies like Vanguard and Charles Schwab. A challenge to that would be the high cost. The first is the human resource management. This includes labor. This would mean a high cost because you have to recruit and pay these people on a monthly basis. Second is the search cost. We have to consider, why are these kinds of companies willing to sell our assets to us? What is the reason for this? The biggest disadvantage here is that it's a non-sustainable competitive advantage. This is because it doesn't help us catch up with companies like its competitors, where it had a 2.5 billion gap between the two.
So the last option, which is recruitment, stands at the call for a perfect hybrid of human resources, of human touch and robot, that is the high tech and the human feel. For a most efficient mix of technological resources together with human resources, there is a need for requirement of registered investment advisors. The advantages of it is, first of all, there is retained control over the employees, over those which we can train for them to be able to advise investors in a better manner. Most importantly, we have easy culturalization. That is the core values on which Wealthfront wants to capitalize, which is transparency, honesty, and a display of ethical values can be through vocational training to implement those values through the registered advisors. It also helps to prevent irrelevant resource acquisition, which is there from mergers and acquisition, whereby redundant resources come up with them. However, the disadvantage is that there is a cost for recruiting dynamic and competent registered investment advisors. There is a cost to instill those values. There is a cost for them to be able to bring a culture of instilling trust in investors.
You might want to ask, why this strategy? But then we would say, if I'm a programmer, I would prefer to get my updates from a phone. But imagine I was a member of a board, a business. We're investing through your own business. It's a B2B connection. How would we like to get our updates on how our investments are turning in? We wouldn't want to look at the phone for reports. We would want a physical representative of the other business we're doing business with to come and explain to us what we need to do and how we need to go about it. And so therefore our recommendation is channel towards Wealthfront, focusing on the market in general. That is both capitalizing on the niche market of tech-savvy programmers and also the B2B section of the market. But then it's going to cost time and money. First of all, we're going to talk about the time cost. For the time cost, from 2017, we're going to have the human advisory recruitment. That is when you're recruiting professional human advisors. So by focusing on this for 2017, we know that it's a process. And Wealthfront is not just going to focus on any professional. We also understand that professionals that have lasted longer in the job tend to give better advice than those that are just coming in. So that is going to be a criteria. And we also have to understand that our system is trying to create a synergy. So a professional looks at a user's update. So it depends on the accuracy of the machine to create a better connection with the client. That is what our competition does not have. Because our competition offers advisors for different markets and offers the automation platform for a different market. But we are trying to bring a merger. Now, from 2017 to 2018, we are going to have a system upgrade, capitalizing on the human resource that Wealthfront already has. So we are going to have the system upgrade at this point. And then at 2018, after the system upgrade is done, from a technological point of view, we understand that technology, you never get done with it. And so system upgrade continues. We try to integrate a crowdsourcing platform. And so the factor is going to be that of crowd wisdom. So with crowd wisdom, we tend to know what do our clients want. And with that, we upgrade our integration process in 2018. We have a cost estimation of 50 million US dollars. If we have 50 million US dollars, we advise that 35% of this be placed into the human advisory recruitment project. After that is done, 40% be put into the system upgrade. That is to also recruit other professionals that would give exactly what Wealthfront wants. With an understanding that entrepreneurs do not ask the question, what can technology do for me? But it asks, what do I want technology to do for me? And then 25% for the integration. So we believe that with a hybrid recommendation, if we have a system upgrade, we can address the problem of competition. And if we have the human advisor recruitment, we can reduce the acquisition cost of getting new clients into the company. Thank you very much. So we are open now for questions.
easy to stand in front of your peers, strangers, really hard out to all that.
You need to ask this question. So, have you studied factors of fund? But what are the differentiation potential that you know?
Talking about betterment in the market, betterment is focused on B2B. And so with its focus on B2B, betterment believes that there is still a necessity for the human connection. That is because their clients, primarily that they are focused on, really want that human interaction. And so that is a sector that Wealthfront is not really into, considering the fact that Wealthfront was initially dealing with clients that are from companies such as Facebook and Twitter. So that's a different strategy. And another strategy that they had was that they were incorporating the automation advisory system as well. So it was more like them having their human advisory system and also trying to offer services to those that really wanted the automated services as well.
To add on to what he said, its competitor had both the traditional finance market as available to perhaps the more elderly market as well as the millennials. So they mixed them both.
I have a question for you guys. It's with regards, firstly, costs. You mentioned that your acquisition costs throughout 2 or 3 times throughout the presentation, that by adding a hybrid approach, your acquisition costs will go lower. But you didn't get in the 20 minutes either time to explain how that will be lower or what your rationale is to thinking behind why your costs you come to that assumption. I'd like to hear how you come to that assumption.
Okay. Talking about the acquisition, we understand that for you to acquire, we are not just talking about financial cost here. We are also going to, because acquisition comes with, you're taking the challenges that that company was facing. And we're also talking about HR management cost as well, because there's going to be this conflict of interest. You're acquiring a company and human resources that had a different mentality, first of all. And you know that acquiring a company would not really require you to acquire a company that does not have experienced professionals. Now, acquiring a company that has attained that level, you're going to be paying a high rate for that. So it's going to cost so much as compared to the recruitment process. So the hybrid process now, you're just recruiting what you want. Because if you're acquiring, they're going to charge you for their assets that you're getting. Now, these might be dormant assets that the company does not want. But Wealthfront is just focusing on the professional human advisors. And so it's better to recruit than to acquire a whole company.
Appreciate that with regards to the value of recruitment versus either an acquisition or a merger. But what I'm talking about is the $1,000 per unit to go and acquire an account. I would like to hear your rationale with regards to costs and how whether or not you think that adding a hybrid model of humans and technology will bring your cost to acquire clients and AUM to a lower level.
The rationale behind that was this. We understand that Wealthfront, one of its challenges was that it had a high cost of recruiting clients. Yeah. And the way that competition dealt with that challenge, the competition didn't have that challenge because it was more expensive to deal with clients through an automated system. You understand that Wealthfront operated from an open source point of view, where a client can get the whole information. Information is free, but you pay for convenience. And so at that point now, it is cheaper if you have someone that comes directly and explains to you what you need to do, how you need to invest. That's what the other companies had a lower cost of reducing, because the cost of hiring and paying these advisors that go out to reduce was cheaper than following an automated system. So adding all the costs involved in recruiting one client, it could cost Wealthfront up to $1,000. So if you just have one recruited professional that targets a particular client, it cuts down that cost dramatically. And so the reason why we also applied that is we believe that there's a difference between acquisition and management. So while the professional addresses the cost of acquisition and Wealthfront reduces the cost of its acquisition, the same strategy that competition is applying, now they apply their strong point, which is technology, for the management process.
Are there any questions?
Yeah, just one question for me. I'm not really sure if I understand the difference between your hybrid model and the other companies in the market. But regardless of that, one of the key strengths that this company has is actually transparency. Introducing the human factor actually is against that transparency strength. So have you thought about how you are going to mitigate that transparency risk?
So, given that we have an option of recruitment to be able to complement a hybrid model, in recruitment processes and while vocational training to display core values like transparency and honesty, we can, for investment advisors, impose stringent laws and punishments upon the violation of transparency and honesty and just being profit-oriented or business-oriented rather than truly advising on investment to investors.
Also, to add to that, from a technology point of view, our model, that's why we spoke about the system upgrade. So with the system upgrade, you're building a system that tries to integrate the advisor and the client. So at this point, we understand that with technology, you can track the activities of the advisor, as well as the response, the survey given by the client. So that way, we use technology to address the issue of bias and transparency, while we use the advisors to address the issue of emotions. Now, coming back to your statement mentioned about the system not really different from the competition. The competition is not directly following that model, because if we understand how an information system works. Now, we have a profile for an advisor and have the profile for a client, and we merge them together in a way that the client can choose whether or not to call the advisor if he has an issue that he's not satisfied with. And still in that same system, the advisor can look at the status, what the machine is generating, which both the advisor and the client will be seeing. And that way there's this connection and synergy between them. But the channel of communication is only triggered by the client. So it is based on the client's necessary need for an advisor, so they can actually do that, instead of taking it out based on the fact that they say they do not want it.
Back to your proposal of having a hybrid option. Bringing people, human elements, into your automated training system. Okay? You propose that to reduce the acquisition cost, right? Besides this benefit, what other benefit do you expect?
With regard to your question, you're wondering how this would benefit the company by implementation of a hybrid strategy. So we believe that using a hybrid strategy will in fact reduce costs if we are to look at recruiting individuals from the market as opposed to looking at acquisition or mergers. Yes. Now we propose that using the hybrid strategy will allow us to further differentiate ourselves from competitors. Yes. Thus allowing us to gain an advantage over them. Yes, and not only in terms of differentiation, but if we're looking at in terms of recruitment, yeah, it will allow us to have reduced costs, because at the same time we reduce the cost of things such as human error. Yes, using our automated system while at the same time implementing elements of human resources, we are looking at creating a system that will allow us to reduce error while increasing efficiency. So we allow our clients can look at the options they have, but then when they need further explanation, when they have further questions, we propose that they contact the advisory agent. And then this agent provides the human element and fills that emotional gap.
So back to your slide, you mentioned that you will spend $15 million into the total exercise here, with 25% into the equipment cost, right? That comes up to 17.5 million, something like that. And your acquisition cost actually 1,000 per head maximum, right? So say by reducing half, 500, right? So you have to really require 35 million, 35,000 for the client, so you can have a balance acquisition cost, right? So what is your ROI of all those things with the 50 million invested? Have you ever thought about it?
Sorry, sir. What's
So
the
investment, ROI, return on investment.
Return on investment.
Have you thought about the revenue stream, your profitability, your future, expansion, so that, that investment is worthwhile?
Okay, so we understand that when you're implementing this strategy at the start, you're going to incur higher costs than you would after years of operations, yes? Because eventually you'll be able to reduce costs. Now, initially, for example, when you're when you're recruiting people, you incur things such as search costs. So naturally, searching for employees will add onto the recruitment cost you're already going to pay them. The already existing wages you're obligated to pay them. So this will give you a higher initial cost. However, this will reduce over time as you will no longer have
so
to.
That 33% on convenience is one-off cost, or is it annual cost, or is it total? What is the cost?
Coming into that
time frame.
Yeah, we have a time frame of 2 years, but it's an estimated cost in the sense that this is an amount that we have set aside. Not compulsorily that you're going to exhaust all of it as in business cases, but you're just setting it aside for worst case scenarios. And so we put that into those different percentages so that we can allocate it. Now, as time goes on, we take just a little bit of that amount to address the necessary cost as related to the factor we are trying to address. So now, if we are trying to address the issue of human recruitment, we are going to look at the market. We now understand that our competitors are getting more clients because of that human interaction and connection. So we know that if we invest there, we are going to get more clients than the automated system would give us on a normal day. So then we are not going to make it, it's not a one-time thing. And so through that process, we are going to, it's like an iteration process where we iterate the process again. As we say that building into technology is not an action but a process. So as we upgrade our system, we mentioned a system survey from clients through crowdsourcing. So we get to know new things, we know professionals that will be able to address that, and then we put more of that allocated finance into it.
So just give the cost. I haven't seen your plan or revenue part, right? So I can balance out your ROI, right? That question is right.
One last question, guys. Say I am one of your new customers that you've managed to acquire. What does the human experience look like?
Okay. First,
I'd like to just
Could you just repeat the question, please?
if I was a new client to come and join WealthPoint, having not been a client before, and I've now got a hybrid technology-backed and human-backed service provider, what does the human experience, where do you expect the human interaction to be available to me, and what would I do? What would you do?
So basically you didn't specify, but however, if there is a client who does not have that keen knowledge about asset management, so basically the human feel is to provide constructive advice on where to invest for wealth management issues. And most importantly, given that robots cannot interact, so maybe a friendly interaction to entice investors to invest through Wealthfront. So that would be the human feel that you can add up to together with a high-tech feel for a hybrid implementation.
Thank you. Well done, guys. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, team from Middlesex University. This concludes round one of the competition. Let's give all the team a big round of applause for their